I'm trying to breathe underwater.
Y'all know what's going on. It's time for another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and welcome to the show, y'all. Look here. They're getting ready to file the clemency for folks, right? You know what I'm saying? He's talked to her lawyers. Everything is about to work out just fine, right? Now, they've been in a relationship. We're going to call it a relationship because that's what she thinks it is. That's what she thinks it is. And, folks, he's trying. He's trying. And some days he feels good and some days he don't. But he's starting to get more aggressive in his mistreatment of people around him. Being disrespectful towards people. Not just inside the cell, now it's outside the cell. He's becoming isolated, you know what I'm saying? He doesn't really kick it outside the cell with people as much as he used to. His whole demeanor is changing. And when you talk to him, it used to be a time when you could talk to him and you'd have a conversation that would be decent, whether you're faking it or not, it'd still be decent. But now, all of his conversations are getting short. Getting straight to the point. I don't like this. I don't like that. I don't know why they do that. Doing things that disrupt in the unit. Doing things that don't even make sense. To make everybody miserable. So, people start to distance themselves from him. Pulling back from him because they're noticing something wrong. But then everybody thinking, well, maybe he's just stressing out because of the situation, because he had told a few people about, you know what I'm saying, the clemency that was being filed for him and all this and that, and about Gal. And you can't tell one person something in the penitentiary. You tell one person something in the penitentiary, it's going to spread around in one way or the other, right? And it wasn't nothing bad that spread around. They were talking about, you know, bro got a clemency application that's going to be filed, and he got these lawyers working on it, and he's probably going to get out. They already done put the stamp on it. Bro getting out. You know what I mean? And on the low, people were happy for him. Some were envious, but most were happy. But at the end of the day, he's feeling the pressure of it. I'm talking about he's feeling the pressure of it. And he just angry. What's inside of him is starting to come out. He can't hide it no more. He can't hide it no more. So then one day, he's on the phone with her. And they're talking and kicking it and all this and that. And she tells him, she said, look, when you get out, we're going to do all of these things. We're going to go here, we're going to go there, and we just going to be happy, and we're just going to live our lives. And, you know, we're going to act like this day never happened. You know what I'm saying? That put you and me in prison. Oh, my God. Pissed him off. He said, what you mean it never happened? He said, if it wouldn't have been for you, I wouldn't have never been in here. Now, she goes silent. She don't know what to say. Because it's like she thought he had forgiven her. She thought he had forgiven her. But it really wasn't any forgiveness there. She was angry that he had played her. That's what she started to think. He played her. But that's not what was, you know, in her mind and in her heart. She just didn't get it. She didn't, why is he doing this? So she took the submissive role. And she said, baby, I'm sorry. I know it happened. But can we just move on? No, we can't move on. No, we can't move on. Do you pay for that? So she said, pay for it how? How am I going to pay for it? She said, I spent just as many years in jail other than when I was out on appeal that you did. I worked hard and I got what I got, and the governor let me out. Now I'm trying to help you to get out. You're supposed to help me get out. You the one that put me in here. He going off. He going off. And he hangs up the phone. Now she just throwed off. She's lost at what just happened. So she sits there and she's crying. And her mother comes and consoles her, tells her that everything is going to be all right. And her daddy tells her that, you know, she might not want to be with this dude. This might not be the type of situation that she wants to be in. He was trying to explain to her, he said, I understand that you want to try to correct what you did, but some people don't appreciate that. Don't put yourself in a situation where you're going to get hurt. And she was so afraid. She was so afraid that this one thing, this one bad decision that she made in her life that caused, now she made many, but I'm talking about the one that caused her to end up in prison, that she would not be forgiven for, because she really does care about folks. She cares about them. So he don't call her back that day. So he waits and he calls her back the next day. And when he calls her back the next day, he's talking like that conversation never happened. He's trying to move past it because he's calculated that I don't want to piss her off. I don't want her to get upset with me and not help me. So he acts like it never happened. He don't apologize. He don't do any of that. So bro get off the phone. And it's this other brother that he's real tight with. And this brother's talking to him. This brother is into the word. He's a believer. And he tells me, he said, bro, he said, I need to tell you something. He said, you need to hear this. And don't get mad at me, but you need to hear this. And he told bro, he said, if you don't forgive her, God ain't going to forgive you, man. He said, if you don't forgive her, God ain't going to forgive you. Bruh got so pissed. He got so pissed at little bruh for saying that to him. He told him to get out of his face and he don't want to rap with him about nothing no more. He ain't going to never forgive her for that. She's supposed to help him regardless, because he was doing that to protect her. If he wouldn't have done that, bruh thinking that she would have got killed. And then bruh hit him back and told him, he said, man, if you really cared for her like that, you wouldn't have had her out there in the streets. And he told him she was already in the streets. He said, but once y'all start kicking it, you should have took her out of the streets then. He said, you the one put her in that car. You the one that wanted her to get out there and keep getting that money because you wanted to live like that. And then that situation come up and then you go and you kill dude because you had this twisted idea that you was protecting something. You wasn't protecting nothing. You was protecting yourself. And see, that's what the streets will mix up your morals. They'll have you thinking that there are no boundaries to how you can act when it comes to you and whoever you love. It'll throw your whole moral compass off. And that's what bro was trying to make him understand. Your compass is off. You think what you did was right. But you can't get right out of that. No. I understand you didn't want her to get killed. That's what bro told me. I understand you didn't want her to get killed. But the decision to be out there in the first place is what cost all of us to come to the penitentiary. So folks looking at him like, man, I ain't trying to hear that, man. I done told you, man. Get away from me. Get away from me. So folks telling me, he said, man, I'm going to get on down, man. He said, but you still need to think about what I said to you, man. So he leaves. So bro get on the phone. He called Gab. And he talking to her. He pissed. It's like bipolar. He all over the place. He pissed. And he told her, he said, what the lawyer say? He said, they working on it. It take time. She told him it took almost a year for her. Said it take time. He said, well, call them and see have they heard anything on anything. So she calls him. They hadn't heard anything. They didn't even get to talk to the lawyer. They talked to the secretary. The secretary said they hadn't heard anything. Just got to be patient. So he's telling her, he said, you need to do something. Speed this up. This is out. Excuse me. This is out of her hands. But he pushing. And she telling him, I'm doing everything that I can. There ain't nothing else I can do. So she tries to calm him down and talk to him with a sweet tone and talk about the future and all this thing. And he said, I don't want to hear no future. It ain't no future with me and you. She goes silent. But this time, she processed it and she pushed back. She said, what you mean ain't no future with me and you? I don't want nothing to do with you when I get out. I don't want to see you when I get out. It hurt her. Hurt her. I'm talking about it crushed everything in her. I'm talking about crushed her. Hurt her bad. So you don't want nothing to do with me? And he said, no. You just need to get me out of here. So she looked at she looked at her mother, because her mother was standing right there. She looked at her mother, and her mother could tell that she was upset. And her mother told her, you don't have to accept that. You ain't got to accept that. So she told him, she said, I'm not going to accept that from you. You don't want to be with me, that's one thing, but you ain't got to talk to me like that. I'm not going to accept you talking to me like that. Everything that I'm out here doing for you, everything that I've sent you, everything that I've done for you, I've done everything that you asked me to do. But you act like you don't care about none of that or me. And he said, I don't care about you. I don't care about you. He said, you suffocate me. When you told them folks about me, he said, that was the end between me and you. You know how the code of the streets is. And she said, yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. I know exactly how the codes of the streets is. And then she hung the phone up. He stood there at the phone, and something washed over him. He knew right then that she had found the courage to push back and wasn't going to take it no more. He picked up the phone and he dialed it right back. He tried to call her right back. She don't answer. He's standing in his ring. He calls back 5 or 6 times. She don't answer. She's done. She's done. A few days later, he gets a letter in the mail. They're going to keep working on it, but I ain't got nothing to do with it. I told them that me and you, we're done, but I would appreciate it if y'all keep working on it. They told her they're going to keep working on it. And she told him, don't call no more. Take the number off the list. So he was cool with that. He said he got what he want. They going to file the clemency. He's assuming he going to get out. They going to work the case just like they worked it for her. But what he didn't calculate is this. They were mainly doing that for her, not him. She's the one that had the relationship with him. Now, the application was filed. So they let the process play out. And they gave him a hearing. They gave him a hearing. But when the time comes for the hearing, he goes down there. They haven't prepped him. They hadn't told him anything. But they're down there. And he's sitting there talking about he was defending his house. He was defending his family in what he did. He got down there and didn't accept responsibility for one thing. And one of the ladies on the parole board asked him, said, do you accept accountability for what you did? He said, yes, I accept accountability for what I did, but, and when he said but, they said the woman leaned back in her chair. And he kept talking. But if he wouldn't have tried to take nothing from her, I wouldn't have killed him. And his family was at the clemency hearing, right? They sitting in the back. And when he said that, everybody that was in there, because when you have a clemency hearing, something like that, a parole hearing, it's a public thing, so the public can come. People can come to it. And the victim's family most surely can come. So when he said that, you could hear people like, oh my God, what's wrong with him? And his own family was there, and they just shook their heads. And it was almost like everybody could see the dark cloud that was over him, hovering over him. So when it came time for the parole board members to deliberate and decide if they were going to grant him a positive or negative recommendation to the governor, it didn't take them 5 minutes. He got zero recommendation, 7 people now, 0 recommendation for the governor on a parole day. 0. And he sit there. And he didn't know what to say. His family hugged him and they left. The victim's family left. Everybody left. The parole board people left. Now the officers are getting ready to escort him back. And he didn't have his legs up under him. And he remembered when he was at the jail getting ready to, they were taking him back from the courthouse to the jail after he had changed back into his orange jumpsuit, how his legs felt like spaghetti. That's what they felt like this time. And when he stood up, he dropped down. And when he dropped down, he started crying. And the officers, they helped him up and said, "You're going to be all right." And that's when he realized he wasn't going to be all right. The one thing that he had to do, he was going to have to do. He had to forgive her. And in that moment, when he had lost everything, every chance of getting out, all of that, the reality hit him. If I don't forgive her, I'm not going to be forgiven. I'm not going to find favor. I'm not going to find favor. And that's when he forgave her. Not out of trickery. You can't trick God. But it was genuine. He learned then, when he lost everything, he learned that one thing that he had to do was to forgive her. Remember that. This has been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker. And I say peace, y'all.